right, welcome. It's Joe Marcoux from the SOS Dojo, and welcome to How to Be an Army of One in Sales. I'm excited to have a friend of mine and client of mine, an Army of One, who's got a great story, and he doesn't even know this. I'm going to be asking him some questions that might even hit here, because he's gone through some challenges recently about travel and like the shit show that goes along with that. Dan Stoughton, Welcome to the How to Be an Army of One podcast, man.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's great to have you. Let's start off with this. You're an online fitness coach. Tell me, share with us a little bit about what got you into becoming a fitness coach online.
I was working on as a PT for a number of years, and I also worked for a health and wellbeing company as well. Okay. So I was basically trying to work as many hours as possible, and I just found my life wasn't necessarily as enjoyable as what I wanted it to be. I didn't necessarily enjoy being in the gym anymore. I was in a position where I was obviously working for another company as well, and the hours were long.
What were the hours, Dan? How long were you working?
I mean, I'm probably talking like, because I get up in the morning around about 5:30. In the gym for like 6:30. I'd PT, 2 or 3 people. Then I'd travel to my other job. I'd work throughout the day, because usually that was a time period where, like, you go through the day and it's like there's like as many clients at one coaching or PTing at that time, personal training. So I'd work throughout the day, and I'd probably do like a part-time job through the day, and then I'd go back into the gym, train, and then I would train another like 2 or 3 clients, and then I'd go home. I'm probably talking like I'm out the house from like just after 6 o'clock. And then I was, working right the way through until about 9. So it was like, it was very draining. Yeah.
Where were you when you started geographically on the planet? Where was home? I'm hearing the accent, and some of the people might be going, where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm from a place called Liverpool. So I basically I was born and bred in Liverpool, and I was like basically working a hell of a lot of hours, and I'd travel actually to Manchester, which is around about 30 minutes from where I am, to work again, and then travel back, and stuff in traffic and everything else. It was very intense period of my life, and I knew that I wanted to change, but I also wanted to have the flexibility and freedom of working the hours that I wanted to work, but also travel at the same time. Yeah.
You and I started doing a little bit more work together. This is just recently. You told me that you were in a different country. We're going to come to that, because that story boggles my mind. When did the shift come in? Because obviously you were going through a hard time in terms of the amount of hours you were working for someone else. And then you obviously have skills and being able to help people live a better quality of life through your skills of personal training and exercise and nutrition and accountability. When did you start as an online coach?
I think the main time that it hit me was COVID times, when we were all like in lockdown, and I lost a lot of work. A lot of clients were leaving, and they were like, it's like, what the hell am I supposed to do? I think before that, before it even hit COVID, I was planning to work online. I had like a hybrid approach of working with people online as well as PT. But then it just given me the kick and push really within that phase of, being at home, to go, let's make the most of it. Let's start to really focus my attention on the online stuff. So I started to do a lot more online content. I was creating a lot of stuff on Instagram, just to generate a lot more rapport with people on that platform, basically.
Yeah. So you were working for someone else when in the PT space as a in-person personal trainer. Were you doing any sales at that point, or did sales come when you said, hey, I'm going online and I'm going on my own?
Yeah, I never really knew how to sell to people, really. It was always like, even sometimes at one point it wasn't necessarily, because it was always an in-person thing where I was speaking to someone. But I think after a certain period of time, I was just basically sending information across and saying, if you want to join my program, here's the link, here's the payment.
Right.
All of them. And then I think after a period of time, I did get a little bit of support from a coaching company, and they give me some ideas of how to, to sell to people. I did like, Facebook challenges, which is after COVID, probably like 2021, and then with probably the time periods where I built a little bit of rapport with people in a challenge, and I jumped on a call with them and signed them up really. So that was probably the start of me jumping on calls, but it wasn't Zoom meetings then. It was just like a call. I didn't necessarily
Okay, like a phone call.
about that. Yes, it was just a call,
Right.
like call them up and I'd chat through with them and run through a few things, and then it'd be like, oh, I'll send you the link across, and they're like, oh, I'll just get back to you and sort of pay. So it was
Right.
like that at one point. Yeah.
Did you end up saying, okay, that's it, I'm diving in, I'm going in full time at COVID in this?
Yeah, I think I did. I did the odd personal training session when I decided to go fully online, but there was a few people who still wanted to get trained at home. So it was like
Right.
quick morning session with a couple of people, and then I was like fully online. So it took me a long while to transition fully online, but I think it was practically the majority of the time I was sat at home working on my business.
Yeah.
Just PTing a couple of clients after that. So I think really I did move away from the gym floor totally after COVID, because it just wasn't a really good place to be in at that time period anyway.
Right.
And COVID just pushed me further away, for me to basically just hand me notice in and go, I can't do this anymore, like for a number
Yeah.
of reasons really. And it's just like, I need to focus my attention on something else, invest my time and effort into something, which obviously I was taking a big pay cut, but in reality, I knew that long term, if I worked hard at something, because I have got that work ethic anyway, that
Yeah.
I would get where I need to be at.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you're in our From Click to Close program. And just before starting the recording for this podcast, you said, I've already done everything that Galel has asked me to do. And Galel typically puts in a little bit of homework for people, and for you to do it all already, it just goes to show to your work ethic. And is that something that you've always had, or did you learn that from someone?
I think it's probably come from me mother really.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean she ran a successful wine business, and she had an independent wine business. She's retired now, but she always had that work ethic of working hard, and I think obviously I've always kind of had that since I've like hit the ages of like 30 and over, like
Yeah.
20, probably a little bit hit and miss, but I think after that, I really wanted me career to hit off, and I think definitely as a role model, my mum was one person that I always looked up at and knew she worked the hours, she put it in, she was determined, she worked her arse off whilst I was a kid, and to get herself in a position. She wasn't given and handed the wine business. She worked in in a wine shop where she was just just selling bottles of wine sort of thing.
Right.
So she's come a long way, and I always like admired her for that. And I thought that was something that really put me more towards my mindset to be similar to her really. So
so you've taken the passion that you have for health, wellness, fitness, exercise, and now been able to apply it and into your own story, and similar to what your mom did, you're putting in the work and dedication. So realistically, we're 4 years in. It's not as easy as people think. What we hear and what we see on social media is that, oh yeah, you're a business owner, you're rich, or you're a business owner, you're rolling in it, or it's easy. I'll say this, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Yeah. And you've got to put in the work, and there is a lot of sacrifice. So one of the things that in our WhatsApp community, you recently asked questions about the challenges that exist, and you're not the only one. There are challenges that exist now with having a conversation with somebody, whether it's on Instagram or could be LinkedIn or on a social media platform, and you're having a DM conversation first. And what do we do to be able to go from the conversation to booking a call without coming across as being pushy? You and I are not the only ones experiencing this. What we see on social media for most people is that, hey, I've just hit another 6-figure month, or I'm at 7-figure month, or whatever. And good for them if it's real, number one. Secondly, somebody could be driving a Lamborghini. It doesn't mean that they own it. If they do own it, doesn't mean that they're not paying a massive monthly payment, or there's no proof that they went and they rented it for an hour. I'm guilty. I'll see that. And then, of course, it's the comparison being the thief of joy. So coming to this, you and I are both running into a similar challenge. And the challenge, there is a recession of trust that is happening right now because during COVID, do you find that it was easier for you to get people to book a call during COVID than it was now?
I'd definitely say so. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a totally different position now than what I
Of
was.
course.
Because I wasn't really using DMs through Instagram as much back then. But I definitely feel that the industry's changed so much. Most
Yeah.
people are going with online trainers more because they're aware of what it's all about. Like even but like before COVID, like no one really knew like how does online trainer work? And I
Right.
probably didn't know that to a great extent either. And I think over time, people have started to realize there's more apps out there. People are using apps more. When you go to the gym, you'll see people with the phone out looking at like an. I've seen people like looking
Right.
at exercise sort of thing. So it's more it's very like well known right now as well. Like,
Yeah.
I think the market has become more saturated with online coaches over the years, and I think that's probably one reason why it's quite difficult sometimes to pick people up. And I think you focusing your attention more on a specific niche and area, and focusing on your avatar, as Galel would mention all the time, of
Yeah.
like really focusing on the people that you really want to work with, your ideal clients. Because they will come to you because you're sending like content out which
Yeah.
is really relatable to them on their pain points and what they're struggling with.
So if we'll come back to the DM conversation. So let's make it relevant for you. If you were to define for me your ideal client, and for those that are watching and listening, who would that be? And because maybe somebody's going to resonate with that and reach out to you. And I definitely want to know how people can reach out to you for sure. So who's your ideal client, Dan?
So my ideal client is a busy working. I know obviously a lot of people will say busy working professionals, but like the majority of the time it is people who have got families as well,
Okay.
who are busy working professionals, but they're also in the running community quite a lot. They socialize in the running community, and they are like love their running. They love races. But they generally tend to struggle with other general fitness goals, and they struggle with injury. They struggle with gaining weight and low on energy levels, poor nutrition. They're unsure about how to perform well with their strength and nutrition to get the best possible performance within running races that they want to accomplish. They feel overwhelmed with that because they've got a busy lifestyle, but they also want to target so many goals with their running performance alongside it, really. So yeah, that's mainly generally tends to be the person that I would usually work with.
Are you finding, and based on that, again, professional, they obviously have a reasonable job, they've got a family. Are you spending more time on a specific platform versus another because of demographic?
Yeah, I think Instagram's always been my area that I'd work in for majority of the time. So I would usually work through Instagram because it's probably one of the main platforms that I do see my ideal clients usually on quite a lot. But usually as well, I would say like I'm going through emails as well with certain people. So it comes from like a Instagram, which is like the main area, to like funnel it down more into like emails where I'd consistently send content emails out to people as well to support them.
What kind of content are you creating that resonates with people? Because there was a time where you could put one great piece of content, maybe go viral. Again, maybe. And again, virality now is a crapshoot, because even some of the people that I've been training, they've said, my content went viral. I have no idea why. And one woman was saying, and the post was about me and my mom, had nothing to do with what she did. So in your world, what are some examples of some of the posts that you're doing that people have been saying to you that resonated? Is it running content? Is it in the gym content? Is it kitchen content? Or is it just about you and your life?
Yeah,
Or something
I think
else?
it is more, I would say, strength content, but it doesn't necessarily need to be related to the gym. It's generally related to training anywhere. But I think the problem that a lot of runners face is they're unsure of how to train as a runner. With strength training, it's like they've been with PTs before and done all these big lifts where
Right.
squats and deadlifts and stuff, and they're unsure of how to condition themselves correctly for that. So I'm trying to come up with content to support runners and say, well, these are the types of workouts that you need to work on, which is going to condition you, stop you from getting injured, and
Right.
running at your best ability. And then from a nutrition standpoint, it's all about understanding the fueling side of things more than anything else, because I think that's where people get very confused with the amount of food and calories and carbohydrates, and
Yeah.
to periodize it within their week and their run and their long runs. Some of them are running ultras like 50 miles. Sometimes it's like, how
Wow.
they're supposed to understand what to take on board, how to consume it before when they go into like a taper, to when they're actually running the actual race, to the recovery side after like an intense run as
Right.
well. So it can be quite confusing. So I try to build content around on them two areas more than anything else.
When you consider somebody who's a runner, and again, this is from someone who I used to run literally decades ago. I'm not saying I don't run now. I don't run competitively like some of your clients do. And so it would be interesting to note, are there people that come to you that they didn't realize that they should be strength training?
Yeah, I think a lot of them, like, they neglect it a lot of the time because they're just in a position where they feel if they were to do any form of strength training, then it's like like they've done it before and it's actually impacted the goal. So they feel like sometimes it's not going to really help. They know
It
that
would be a hindrance.
yeah, yeah,
Got
but
it.
they also see physios as well, like that they've had to, like they've had the odd injury as well. Usually, our clients who like it's very well known that I'll pick up a client and they've had countless amounts of injuries, or they've spent so much money on physios. The physio gives them the exercise, they know they need to do it, they do it,
And
and
they
then
don't do it.
on side, it's like they'll do it to
Mm.
get back out running, but once they're back out running, it's like, well, I don't need it anymore. It's like
Right,
I'm
right. They,
on
problem
side.
solved. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So going back to the DM, now you've got this great content, you know who your audience is, you know where they are. What's been the feeling? Because let's focus specifically on that, because there's an emotional reason. I touched upon it that there's a recession of trust. People are very reluctant more than ever. Has anybody said that, or is it more of a thing for you that you're getting ghosted, or what's your take on where, if they were gonna have an emotion connected to this, where do the people that you want to help that are resisting your help, what's making them resist? What's the emotion behind that?
I think it's probably because majority of the time, which I've actually learned from yourself as well, and obviously on the program, is that you need to obviously take in a lot of contents.
Yeah.
Like, for someone to trust you and jump into the DMs and they've literally just met you, or they've like
Yeah.
just you, they're in a position really where they don't necessarily know too much about you just yet, and that's sometimes the reason I'll send messages out and maybe not get a reply, or like, so, something happens where they just maybe don't see the message, or it's one of them sort of positions where that generally tends to happen. So I feel that for me, what I'm trying to work on is that long form content to try and build that trust more than anything else at all. So it prevents that from happening.
You know what? This sparked an idea, and I had to write it down and I don't know if you're doing this or not. One of the things that the goal that I have going into 2025 was, okay, and specifically since the month of May, was, you know what? I'm going to start putting out more long form content, and with the intention that I want to have more views and follows and subscribers on YouTube. So out of curiosity, because YouTube would be the best place for long form content, is there a possibility for you to take someone who starts to follow you on Instagram and share with them links to your YouTube channel? Because typically when you're on YouTube and you're watching someone, you'll go to the next video and to the next video and to the next video. They're still on Instagram, and yet, like, they have an Instagram account, so you're already connected. You might be giving them a lead magnet as a sales tool for you and as a way to nurture even more. And then ultimately, the ultimate nurture tool is long form content. Because if somebody's going to be listening, watching, and consuming your excellent content that you're having to think about, storyboard or not, you still got to record it, you got to edit it, and all that. It's a job to do all of that, and then to finally get them to a place where they feel comfortable enough to go, okay, I'm going to give this guy a shot. I'm going to listen to what this Dan guy's got to say, and and they still know. I think I'm hopping on a sales call here, right?
Yeah.
So you would ask me the question: do you go in with, hey, you know what? I'm giving you a free assessment.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is brilliant.
Yeah. I think. Okay.
Because by you giving something that is free and it's an assessment, now they can either fill out, I don't know, is it you doing it live, or are they just simply filling out a form and they get the tool? You have a tool that fills it out, and then it gives them an automated suggestion, and then you also get the answers, and you can then follow up with them. What's the process that you're doing with the assessment? Because I think it's brilliant.
I think that's it. Is like that's what I'm trying to change a little bit more of now, because I've not created as much long form content recently. But I think the funnel now is they come on my platform. I try to send them resources like straight away. I also I have like a mastermind call that I've started doing with my clients, and what I'm doing now is I'm recording that mastermind call. And I've actually got one in 30 minutes time, actually, with clients as well. Yeah, so I do it every Thursday at 7 p.m. UK time. So
nice.
what I'm doing is I'm having a client call, but I'm also bringing non-clients onto the call to discuss topics around
perfect
strength. So what I'm looking at doing is I'm trying to make sure I can use that as a platform for people to come on and to either ask me questions, as well as like the long form content, which I can record and then put onto YouTube. But I'm also sending out links to people as well within the DMs. Once things are recorded, I can then pop it onto YouTube. On Spotify. So they have like a Spotify link on YouTube. And then once they've been on the call, if someone can't make the call, I'll go, here you go. Well, here's the recording for it. You know, watch that, listen to that, see if you found any value. And then obviously once they've listened to it, you can tend to follow back up from them. How did you find sorts of things? So it's like, I think it's following up with people is probably one of the most important things I've noticed, that it's just really helped me out, is because some people, they may not be ready straight away, but if you give them some form of long form content, and then you follow them up, let's say, even 30 days down the line, but you're providing content on Instagram as well, and you're on your stories chatting away, you're trying to be yourself and, within your life and the way you are and stuff on your stories. I think it builds that level of trust over time, where they sort of think, I'd like to work with this person, and, and then book the sales call, and the sales call just makes it so much easier for you to make the sale. You've developed that trust, basically.
This is the thing. Because there is such a big resistance and recession on trust, now more than ever, we've got to double down on even doing things like this podcast, to be able to let people see who we are and go, you know what, I like that Dan guy. And then if you're offering things that are going to be of benefit, whether they do business with you immediately or not, like this assessment tool, if they get the assessment tool, then there's other ways for you to be able to go, by the way, regardless of whatever, even if their assessment is, hey, you're perfect and you're not a good fit for my program at the moment, you can still have something set up like an automation where it's like, hey, I was thinking, I'm sending you this video because it's going to be relevant to your training.
Of course.
And again, all of these things, to get somebody to consume 7 hours worth of reels at 60 seconds each or less is like, it's crazy. Yeah. To get people to go, you know what, I watched, 4 to 6 to maybe 20 long form videos. Again, if it's compelling enough, it's something that they're truly interested in, they'll watch it.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
so it's not to say that you're giving up on content. It's not to say that you're giving up on stories. You're going to do that because people still want to know who Dan is. There's a hero's journey that you're on right now. You weren't in Liverpool a few months ago.
Yeah.
So you had an idea in terms of where you wanted to be. And
Of course, yeah.
like, tell me a little bit about that story and what happened.
Yeah, so I think, I've been traveling for 2 years, and I didn't necessarily know where I wanted to stay or where I wanted to live. And UK was not the area that I wanted. I've been there, and the weather's terrible. That I didn't like the way people live over here and the lifestyle. So my plan was to head to Spain. My mother lives in Spain, and she's lived there for 3 years, and I like the lifestyle, and I wanted to try and like basically have my life over there. And I decided to apply for a visa, which was called a digital nomad visa. I actually had a lawyer who was trying to set everything up for me, and I basically told her all the information, what I needed to do, everything else. And and I was basically like, because I only get 90 days in Spain now, because we're, the UK is not part of the EU anymore. So it's like I was waiting, staying in Airbnbs, working from and I had to move from Airbnbs every so often because they got booked or something. So I was in a position where I was moving around quite a lot, working from my laptop. It was very tiring. I didn't feel settled or anything like that. I was basically waiting the visa to come through. I was able to stay longer than the 90 days because I was waiting for the visa to come through. Then literally by, I think it was probably like 3 weeks ago, the start of May, I got an email sent through that my visa had been declined for a reason that it was basically to do with the company was getting individual payments instead of like business payments, and there was no way of me going through it. And my lawyer didn't mention the requirements to me, and she didn't look into it. So I was a bit frustrated with her that that was the case. And then I asked her, well, where can I go? Like, what's going to happen? She's like, you're going to have to go back to the UK. And there was no way of me getting that visa or even like appealing against it, because the grounds were, I wouldn't be able to qualify for that type of visa. And within like a 2-day period, I'd split up with my girlfriend as well. So that happened. And then I just felt like over that 2-week period of me coming back to the UK, I just noticed that the business was dropping a little bit more than what it was. And it was like, it comes in threes, doesn't it? Really, it's like the business.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so it's like everything came all at once, and then they came back to the reality of being back in the UK where I didn't necessarily want to be. I was in a position really where it was good to see family and friends again, which was good.
Yeah.
And I've been back here 3 weeks, but after 1 week, I was like, I need to take action on something which I've got control over. I haven't got control over the split up. I haven't got control over me being in Spain. The one thing I've got control over is my business. More than anything else, because that's gonna, if my business is affected, everything else is affected. I can't have the position of traveling to nice places or and I know coaching works because we've been with coaching programs before, and I wanted to better myself as well. I wanted to change my mindset. I wanted to focus something within my life and move forwards. And I knew for myself, because obviously I've done been on your sales calls before. And I've noticed, with, certain recommendations from other people who've been on your program who've done amazing, closing people on sales and stuff. And I thought, the biggest thing that I need to work on is getting more people through the door. And two main areas that I need to work on for that is me marketing and sales. So, I thought it'd be a great opportunity for me to do that. And I think, since I've started, I've got more direction. I know where I'm things. I've got an idea of where I want to go with the business now. I don't feel lost as such, and I'm being held accountable, which is great. And that's something that I always want as well, to make sure I can get the best out of my business. And I'm excited now for for this next month of June, because like I would say, like May's been an awful month for me to do, but I'm trying to do things now, like and do my best in the circumstances that I'm in, because I know once June's out the way, I'm just going to get bigger and better when things
Good for you.
press
What
forward.
looking into the future, because you're an army of one at the moment, and sometimes we keep hearing words like you need to scale and you need to 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, blah blah blah. What is it that you're looking for out of your business that would ultimately make Dan happy?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's just more, and it's not even like, going into like seven figure and having this crazy amount of money coming in. I think for me, it's just about, feeling comfortable, having a business which is, profitable, and, just trying to build it from the up really, and have a more of a team. I mean, I do
Right.
have a VA and a video editor at the moment
That's
who
great.
work
Good.
with me on a small amount of hours, but I'm still doing a lot of work. So I think the goal for me is to just live comfortably and have the best life. Basically, that's all I want. It's not about the money. It's about what I do with the money and how it's going to make me happy more than anything else, and more comfortable.
Perfect.
And I think, it's building that business. I think it's me about making sure that I can have other people to do things for me, so that
Right.
taken off from me. And I would say this is like more of a long-term goal of 5 years. So I'm in a position where I'm not having to put as many hours in than what I'm doing now.
Right. Yeah.
I'm in a good position. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier you're not afraid of putting in the work, and you clearly want to help people. In a year's time, we go through June right now, 2025. Let's say it's the 1st of June, 2026. How many additional clients does Dan Staunton have in his business? How many additional clients do you have in your business at that point in a year from now? Just in a year. What's the number? Because you said you love being held accountable. So we're going to do it right here and right now. Again,
Yeah.
without having it doesn't have to be this grotesque number like 1,000 new clients.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it, just to give you an example, as we're recording this, legitimately from a growth perspective, the SOS Dojo can't take on anything more than 8 customers. It's not a lot. Like otherwise, then we have to create a new cohort. So I don't want any more than 8. That's going to be easy. Like it's a manageable, very easy. And when
Yeah.
people hear that, they're going to go, "Holy shit!
Yeah.
Only 8? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it." So if I said, yeah, if I looked at in a year from now, how many that would that be? That not counting people that could potentially, okay, my time here is done, because I mean we have a lot of long-term clients. What's the number going to be for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Counting attrition, how many, forget about attrition, just go, how many new clients will have walked through your virtual door that you are or have worked with in the course of a year for you to be at that level of comfort? What number can you attribute to that, Dan?
Well, I think at once I'd like to be in a position where I've got 80 clients like all at once within the
Perfect.
business.
Yeah, it's
Because
manageable.
yeah, I'm at like a 40 like number at the moment.
Okay.
I'm managing things really well with that. But I want more position of the people who are in and more of a higher ticket, personal coaching than maybe some of
Right.
that's like, because I've got ones who are maybe like more lower tickets.
Yeah.
Some are a lot higher, majority of them, but I want everyone in a position where they're more on a high ticket at the 80 amount, where it's double that. And I'd be happy with that. Like, that would be something in a year's time to do that before I maybe scale and get another coach on board,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you get what we've done is we've been able to grow from within. In other words, everyone who's a coach for the SOS Dojo was first a student. They learned, then they did, now they teach. What's your intention as far as getting a coach? Would it be somebody who's got plenty of racing experience, somebody that you've got from the outside, or would it actually be a client who you've worked with and you've been able to develop a relationship and they understand the culture that you want to create? There's no wrong answer. It's just curious for you.
I think from a number of reasons, I probably wouldn't want to come away from my coaching as such just yet. I think that, and I think we've discussed this anyway when we went to one of the fitness events, and you mentioned
Yeah.
to me about like hiring someone to do your sales. You could do, when I
Yeah.
position where I'm at a high level, it's like I then got the coaching expertise to get someone like a potential, or an old client who's got amazing results, and they can
they know
just
your story.
they know my story. They've basically got the wins themselves, and then they can do.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, if I was doing a lot of sales calls, which I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get over this next period of time with you, is like, I don't want to be doing them too much because they can become tiring when you're focusing so much on a Zoom meeting with somebody, and you're giving it you're putting a lot of energy and emphasis into the call. Even though you might make that sale, it can be quite tiring. Yeah. So
highest energy wins in sales, and yet a lot of salespeople don't give themselves enough time or rest in between calls. So it's literally the simplest thing, like, okay, I need to go get a glass of water. Oh, I got to jump on my next call. And it's like, give yourself some buffer time. Put in white space into your calendar. White space time to go to the bathroom, have a bite to eat, just think, just to stop and not scroll. Go for a walk and think. It's amazing how many good things will come. And then make a call and, connect with people. It's such a critical component, which it boggles my mind how many people just want to have this busy calendar. For you, because you still have to deliver as an army of one, you need to deliver what you do for your clients. And then you need to be able to take time to create content. Thankfully, you've got a video editor and someone and a VA. Then you still got to get on calls. What's the optimal number of calls per day that you'd want to take as far as sales?
If it was for sales, I'd probably say no more than 3, maybe 4 max. And I mean, it would depend on the day that I have, because there's a day where I've got check-ins, and check-in days, just like a full day of. But I would say on a normal average day, I probably wouldn't want any more than 4 max, because it's and I'd want them spread out. So I always give myself at least a half an hour buffer between doing another, because sometimes they go over slightly, and then when you finish the call, you've got to get some information from the other call of about
pre-call planning.
So pre-call planning of before they even go into the call, I need to find information. So it's about that buffer of at least 30 minutes to give me that time. I mean, usually an hour would be better, just to refresh myself, maybe go out for a walk, listen to some music, have a coffee or some food or something, just to refresh myself up a bit, because you're hitting that, and then you're going into basically a pre-call planning. Maybe if the hour's gone over slightly, and you're handling certain objections, or you're getting payments or whatever else that takes it slightly over, then it's like you're rushing straight back into another call to plan.
This is absolute gold. So I want to reiterate what Dan just said, because there's a portion for my mind that comes up where it's like, if I have an empty calendar, it's the devil. And the truth is that a certain level of emptiness in the calendar is there to help you rest in between and do the work before the work. And a lot of people don't know, or they avoid the work before they work, and they just hop on a call and they're not prepared and they don't have a script. And again, scripts aren't there to read. It's more of, we'll call it a template, or at least an outline. Where's this conversation going to go? And I have an outline in terms of what questions I had in mind that I wanted to discuss with you today. And it wasn't scripted. It was just bullet points. And then allow this conversation to happen organically. And this is part of where a lot of salespeople, they make a mistake. People that are specifically the ones that are an army of one. You get overwhelmed because you're trying to do it all. And what Dan just said was, you got to give yourself some time, especially with pre-call planning, because there's calls will go over. They will. And organically, sometimes that happens. And I would rather see someone have fewer calls with better success than multiple calls and drastic anxiety around all the shit they got to get done that they can't get done because they're too tired now to do it. Have you ever felt that? Like, it's the end of the day and there's still other things that you have to do administratively, and it's like, I don't feel like doing this right now?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, again, if this was easy, everybody would do it. What's the thing about sales when you consider what some people might dislike about it? What's your favorite aspect of the process? When you look at pre-call planning to going through discovery to having some to pitching to showing your price to overcoming objections to having somebody say yes or no, getting a decision. Is there a part of the process that you enjoy most?
I would probably say more the rapport building on the call more than anything else, because
That's great.
you've got to get develop a relationship with somebody on the call, and so sometimes it works. It's like
Yeah.
you can tell it's clicking, and we're getting on with each other really well. That's not always going to happen, but the
Yeah.
time it does happen, when you do have that person on the call who's just very relatable to you and stuff, and you can sort of resonate with them quite well. I find that is probably the most enjoyable part of the process, because you have to develop that relationship, because you're hopefully going to be coaching them for 6 to 12 months. You
Right.
need rapport there. So I think if it's there, it's a good feeling to have that
Yeah.
rapport, really. Yeah.
What are some examples of things that you do or say that have really helped you find better alignment with brand new calls? I mean, you've likely been in the DM with them or something, and now you're hopping on a call with them and you're building rapport. What are some of the things that you do or say that just work for you?
I think it's more discussing more about the running, but not necessarily from a performance level of like what they enjoy about running. Like, do they like
Okay.
trail, do they like races, what type of running trainers that they like to wear. Like, I think sometimes breaking the ice of enjoyment of running, like not just
Yeah.
necessarily a specific let's perform well, like all of these factors that come alongside it, they love so much. It's part of their life. So sometimes it's
Yeah.
like it's trying to break the ice with that area and that side, because it is a very important part of their life to speak about, really. Yeah.
What was it that compelled you to become a runner?
I used to run competitively. Like, I'll be
What
honest,
were you
right?
running?
Yeah, I used to run 800 meters.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
It's the
did that.
toughest race ever
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
because
used
it's
to.
practically like the 400 is almost a sprint and the
Mm.
800 is like a sprint light because you've got to like not go all out but not go hard.
Yeah, of
Holy
course.
shit.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
That's
and
a tough
and,
one.
and I started as football. I played football for many years, and I got
Yeah.
injured. So I started taking up running as a hobby again. And I just loved to be out. Now I don't go for performance. It's just me more than anything else. So I can resonate with clients in a bit for PBs, but for me, it's just about making sure I've got a love for strength training as well as running.
Yeah.
So I try and put that onto my clients as well, you see, and push that onto them. Yeah.
Do you from a running someone who did 800 meters previously at speed, what distances do you run now for health, fitness, and effectiveness for yourself?
I'd probably say 10K and half marathon of me
Okay.
main, really. Marathons, I've
Okay.
done marathons before, but they're just too long, and it wrecks me. So I like a 10K. I go out for 10Ks most weekends. I'll go for a run at 10K, 8 miles, and it's a perfect distance for me now. Yeah.
And how often do you strength train based on that?
I strength train about 5 times a week. Yeah.
And how long are your sessions?
Probably around about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Mm.
And then what are some of the things that if you were not a novice runner, or if you were a novice runner, or not a runner at all, what would you tell someone who's considering getting into the running game as far as exercise to help them get into running and stay at it? What would be some advice that you would give? And I'm talking about whether it's footwear, clothing, nutrition, just guidelines real quick.
I'd say for me, standpoint, because that's the area I work in, is under fueling. Main mistake runners miss out on is the under fueling, and
Really?
being able to make sure that you can fuel yourself. Because I would say 9 times out of 10, a lot of the people I'm speaking to don't consume it enough, because they don't realize
Really?
the amount that they have. And then that's when the poor performance comes in. That's when the injuries. It's not just about the strength training, but I think the fueling is a massive factor that people need to realize and understand before they go into longer runs and races as well. You see, yeah.
That alone, it's very interesting because I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought footwear is a big one. And because I've heard countless stories of people wearing old shoes, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, listen, you know, ankles, knees, hips, spine. Even before you put the runners on, you've got to put the fuel in, and it would seem wise and it's logical that a lot of people just don't want to eat too much because they don't want to feel bogged down. Or they want to lose weight, so they're not consuming too many calories. Meanwhile, you need the fuel to be able to get the metabolism going. So, Dan, we've got a few minutes left. How do people get a hold of you if they want to find out more about you and learn that they want to start following you anywhere? And we're going to give you, the listener and the viewer, all of Dan's information is going to be available. Dan, if you're going to tell people where to follow you, where should they find you?
Yeah, so if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram. Mine's my page is dan.freshlifestylefitness. If you'd like to head over to that, that's going to give you a lot of information, and you'll basically find all of my information from strength and nutrition on there.
Awesome. So if you're a runner and you're interested in getting some information, I'm also going to make sure that you get some of Dan's resources through this. So absolutely fantastic. Dan, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I got to tell you, man, your smile, you light up the room. I don't know if like you had braces as a kid. You've got the perfect teeth, bro. It's like, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, if you're a runner, or if you're thinking about running, or if you want to get better performance in terms of any type of fitness, running, strength, Dan's your man. And yeah, look him up. I want to say to anybody that's been listening and watching the How to Be an Army of One podcast, stay tuned, because we're going to have another exciting episode. And again, this is it. We're dealing with people just like Dan, that you're not the only one who's an army of one. There are other people just like you. And Dan's going through his hero's journey. We're going to make sure that Dan gets to his 80 clients by this time next year. Dan, always a pleasure.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.
All right.